And so, without wasting much time, we have the EO of the Oredo local government and then the LGA coalition officer. So please, Madam, you introduce yourself and your status, then LGA coalition officer will also introduce, and then go ahead to start reading the results. Thank you. Please, let's have one house. We can't be making noise and then you expect that you hear her. Please. Please.
My name is Mrs. Benedict Antonio, the electoral officer, Radio.
Good afternoon. My name is Professor Olurutimi Adebowale Keniki. I'm the local government coalition officer for Oredo local government. Oredo local government has 12 wards. The summary of the results are as follows. Total number of registered voters, 356,242. 356,242. Number of accredited voters, 64802. 64802. Votes as recorded by parties. A.
Please, sorry, Prof. Registered voters is what? 356,242. Okay. Okay. I didn't hear it. Sorry about that, please.
Thank you, sir. Party A. 38. A. 38. AA. 63. 63. AAC. 58. 58. ADC. 192. ADC. 192. ADP 92. ADP 92. APC 30780. 30780. ABGA 523. 523. 523. APM 3232. APP 2323. BP 5959. LP 5389. 5389. NNPP 8888. NRN 727. PDP 24938. 24938. PRP 3131. SDP 231. YPP 6060. ZLP 34. 34. Total valid votes 62703. 62703. Rejected votes 1339. 339. Total votes cast 64042. 64042. Thank you.
Thank you, the LGA Collation Officer. Thank you. Was there a particular polling unit or ward where there was no election, or election took place and results were cancelled, and then the reason for such? All right. None? Thank you. Party agents, please. Yes, sir, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Tony Ioha. I stand to represent the PDP as State Collation Agent. This is my local government, so I'll be holding the mic for a couple of minutes. And I want everybody to listen very carefully. I was called while we were during the first session of this exercise, precisely at 11, by the EO, that I should call my agent, that they were about to start collating already results for my local government. My agent has since been here. I called the EO severally for my agent to be granted access to join them in this coalition that was never supposed to happen here, according to INEC laws, INEC regulations. He has been outside and he is still outside. He hasn't been granted access into these premises. And then you collect a result that we are not involved in. We won this election in Oredo by miles. Miles. How would, in this city, metropolitan city, APC get this vote? It's not possible. Our people are a very civilized people. What they have done here, I will reveal to you when we continue for the last local government, and I will point it out to you. This is disgraceful. This is shameful, to say the least. It's shameful if this is how this kind of state or this kind of country we are going to bequeath to our children. They would ask us questions one day, all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other?
My name is President for the Zenith Labour Party. I'm a bit more confused because you have not asked the officer why he delayed. Because the polling unit the area is collating. It's just like a true stop where 5 hours journey have delivered his own result. It's just coming. And when I saw him, I said, they didn't use the professor. So when he introduced him as a professor, I became shocked. And I'm doing my PhD, and I've just told myself I don't need to be a professor. This is very disgraceful. He should explain why the delay. Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It is noted. Thank you, sir.
My name is Jared Tenebe. I represent APC here. I am surprised when the agent of PDP keep mentioning APC. And openly just now he said that this is a metropolitan city, that is surprised that APC will have votes like this. And he is from the same local government. I can make bold to tell you that all through the campaign, he was nowhere to be found because he's alleged to be one of those people that killed the police at the airport, and he has been on the run. And for the information, please, I must say this, please. I have to say this. Please. I have to say this. Please. I have to say this, please.
I'm begging you, please.
I have to say this because I also have to let the police know that after the collation, is one of those that is alleged to have killed that police at the airport.
Please. I think party agents, please, we can do better. What we should be doing here is to raise issues concerning results. I think we should avoid issues that are not intended with what we are doing, please. Please. The party agent for PDP, please, except if you have something new, we are not to respond to this, please. I'm begging you, please. Please, something different, not personal. Please. Okay, sir. Please, so that we don't waste time here, please.
Thank you, sir. I will not join issues with someone that is a beneficiary of this fraud. Is an active participant of this. When it goes low, I will go high. Sir, the Oredo results. I can see a column signed by PDP here. Our agent is outside. Our agent has not had access to this building since these results were moved from Oredo, from the wards. The results, only 2 wards out of 12 got to Oredo Collation Center. The remaining wards were brought here directly. The agent, the Oredo local government area agent, has not had access to this building and make bold to say. So this fraud, I repeat, this manufacturing of votes continues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, like I said before, I want us to be very, very matured and diplomatic in this case. Like I said, please, I want to repeat it. There are questions that have been raised. The truth about it is that if really we know our role here, this is not a court of law. I just want to attend to some of the issues the last man raised. It is not a court of law where somebody will be kept in a box for interrogation. Our simple job is for us to collect results, and you can see fundamental questions we have been asking here. Those are the only questions that we can ask as this exercise is concerned, and this exercise must continue. It has to go. We must do it to complete what we are supposed to do. Any other issue, please, like I said before, document this and make it available to our NA. Thank you very much. Thank you, please. Thank you. Any other observation? All right, LGA Collation Officer, please tender the results. Thank you. Which one? Okay. Is Okoba here? Okoba local government? Is it Okoba? I've said, please permit, don't mind me. I'm familiar with, please. Okoba. Eh? Just bear with me, please. So long as you understand exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you. Thank you. Gentlemen and ladies, please let me show you something here. This is the result sheet. It's still sealed. What I want to simply do is open this in your presence and then we begin to record results, because if we stay here and say we want to go on recess again, it means we will have to extend this exercise till tomorrow. So please, with your permission, it's sealed. It is sealed. I'm going to open it before everybody here, and then we'll now begin to record the results that are already on the screen. So please. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the declaration result sheet. It is also sealed. Please, you bear me witness. This is from EC8D. From EC8D. Is this sealed? We shall be transferring the results that is already on the screen that everybody has seen, and I'm sure the results are also in relation with the party agents and security.
Election Officer and State Returning Officer Professor Farouk Adamukuta there with other officials of the INEC, you know, doing what is necessary while they wait for Ipogba Oka local government area. That's the last one waiting, they're waiting for. Oredo was previously just announced. APC leading with 30,780, Labour Party 5,389 votes, and then PDP 24,938. Mr. Ojo, you saw what just played out, and this is always peculiar when it's the last bit. Talking about the dissatisfaction of some party agents there, we saw the reactions following the announcement of Oredo local government results.
Yes, whatever is playing out in the Collation Center in Benin City is nothing new. If you have followed the trajectory of party agents, and they always will want to antagonize. There's hardly any election where you will not see one party agents of the losing side raising issues. So what the PDP agent is saying is nothing new. If they were to be on the winning side, I'm sure the reverse would have been the case. Maybe APC would be the one crying blue mother now. And that has been a recurring decimal. But that's not to say that I endorse in totality, or I do not consider it weighty, some of the allegations that has been made. Just that it's important to follow due process. Election is rule-based, and if the party has incontrovertible evidences that this election has been rigged in favor of any of the candidates or has been compromised, it has opportunity to petition INEC, who has the power to review whatever declaration is even made today. Because today is not the day you issue certificate of return.
Yes.
So the certificate of return will come later. And if there are petitions and there are weighty allegations, and the good news is that INEC, as at the last time I checked, has uploaded about 98% of the polling unit results on the IRF portal. Yeah. So individuals can actually do their own independent tabulation. Barring the fact that there are cancellations at the higher level, maybe at the ward level or at the local government level, if there are no cancellations, then it means that whatever is on the IRF portal should be the barometer by which we know the party that has won or lost. So all that is going on now is the formality of it. Because one good thing, even though the IRF is not backed by law, and what is going on is not, as we have seen now, it's not an electronic collation, it's a manual collation, which is what the law authorizes. And this manual collation is in 3 layers. From polling unit, you move the result to ward level. From ward level, you move it to the local government level. From local government, you move it to the state level. There have been instances in the past where collation could not hold at designated places for lack of security. My elder brother here talked about invasion of collation center. And we have seen that. We have seen even collation officer being shot at in time past. So sometimes it's better to err on the side of safety, and it's not totally out of place to move the collation to a safe and secure environment. Although naturally one will have thought that there should have been reinforcement at those collation points since they are recognized by law. But even for election petition tribunals, you possibly recall, Ruth, that there are many instances where election tribunals have to be taken out of where elections were conducted and brought to Abuja or taken elsewhere because of safety and security of the these witnesses and the process. So it's not like the law is there, but sometimes you may have to circumvent that law if there are potential safety and security concerns.
But the good news reports we're getting, even INEC confirmed, the Collation Center there in Benin is highly secured. There are security agencies, you know, on ground to ensure the safety of everyone.
But the question, Ruth, is actually that if we have 35,000 policemen deployed to provide election security, an additional 8,000 from the armed forces and NSCDC, I don't see why the 192 ward collation centers cannot be adequately secured. Because as at yesterday afternoon, most of the policemen will have been done with their work, and you can retain a substantial number to provide adequate security around the ward collation center, 192 of them, and then the local government collation center, which are just 18. I don't think if it has that should not have been a case that will arise for you to relocate the collation as it has happened. But I'm not on ground. I only observe, and I'm not an active stakeholder in terms of decision maker. But I'm only giving historical antecedents and instances where in time past similar things have happened because of invasion. But you ask, how did this invasion manage to happen if we have such huge deployment of security agents to provide election security? Election is not over until the announcement and declaration of results. So why should there be no adequate provision of security at the ward collation center, at the local government collation center, as to now say, okay, you now breach the collation stages because of safety and security concern. But it also leaves a sore taste in the mouth. The desperation and the resort to self-help by the political class. I believe very much in what elder citizen, senior citizen, Nick Dazan said earlier in the day, when he said politicians are the major culprit of our democracy. Because if they are allowed to play by the rule, all of these shenanigans, issues around distrust, issues around compromises should not have happened. But, you know, it's them that wanted to take advantage of the system to their advantage and against their opponents.
You know, that whole expression of desperation, Mr. Dazang, is what, you know, we get to see play out. And, you know, politicians have been urged to, you know, express their interest within the confines of the law. And INEC, you know, expressed displeasure over, rather said they were going to probe the wrong figures being entered into polling units result sheets. A lot of complaints there about, strings of complaints we're hearing, which some party agents are also bringing up to express their dissatisfaction. If, you know, party agents must comply with the whole process that is ongoing, because this is a very crucial process now we're seeing happening. For INEC, you know, at this critical time, how can they just stay focused to ensure that this process is duly completed?
I think in respect of what is happening, so far they have been focused, and they have also demonstrated some proactivity, particularly when this issue of moving collation centers from where they were supposed to take place to some areas arose. But I think that, yes, there's theater going on in the collation center, because when this collation process began and PDP was winning in some jurisdictions, the agent did not complain. But whenever, you know, APC was said to have won in any particular polling unit or area, he tended to complain. And so it looked as if his complaints were one-sided and partisan. But now he has alleged also that his agent was denied access to the collation center. And I think, to me, that leaves a bad taste in the mouth. Because the idea is to carry this process transparently, openly, to the satisfaction of all stakeholders, to those of us who are watching, to those of them who are there and who are contesting the election. And if you deny an agent access, it's a contravention of the law. Because
what is expected of INEC, for a situation like that?
Yes, I think by law, according to Section 65, when the rules are observed in the breach in the conduct of elections, INEC has the right within 1 week to review such conduct to ensure that what happened was not a breach and it was not untoward. And in this respect, I will advise INEC, to invoke that particular section to make sure that it takes a very, very good look at what happened. Why were these centers relocated? Were there cogent reasons for them? And how can collation take place in centers designated for them in subsequent elections? These are issues because when this continues to occur, it gives a sense that something fishy is taking place. And when you deny agents access to collation, it tends to give the impression that something is taking place that ought not to be taking place. But if the agent is there, and the Electoral Act 2022 now strengthens the role of agents from the point of distributing electoral materials to the point of voting and to the point of collation. I know that even before the advent of the 2022 Electoral Act, INEC always invited these agents, even to the CBN, where sensitive materials were being distributed. They were always encouraged to cite these sensitive materials, to take serial numbers that accompany these sensitive materials, and even at the point of polling units, they are also advised to take a look and to ask the presiding officers to show them these ballot papers so that they confirm that it is the same ballot papers that left the CBN that, they are trailing. And in this case, the Act now says that they have the right to demand for it, to demand that they are shown. In time past, they didn't have that right, but now they have. And now that the dispensation is backed by law, you are now denying access to these agents. It doesn't look
Is that
good
a
for
new
me.
experience you're seeing happen in the compared to what has played out?
I think to me, this is
because
strange.
they have
this is
every
strange
right.
Because in
Yes.
all collations, even when you locate them on security considerations, you make sure that the agents are there. You even invite them to sign.
And that will
Even
spell
though by law
transparency.
it does not make any difference whether they sign or they don't sign. It does not detract from the integrity of the process. But all these are measures to confer integrity, acceptance, and trust, in the process. But when you now keep someone at bay, you keep him away, you tend to give a different impression of what you are doing. And I think it's not good for the process, and it's not good for the commission, which is why I think, as the returning officer has said, this particular agent representing the PDP should document all these things and file a report or a petition, with the commission. And it is left for the party now to follow up with the commission and to insist that a review is done based on what they have observed. And going forward, I think that would be a win for everybody if that is corrected. And I'm happy that earlier on the commission issued a statement, and it threatened also that it would be compelled now in view of certain developments to invoke Section 65. So I think it's a good one.
Mr. Ojo, going by what we have seen, happen there at the Collation Center, which we're not anticipating that more, disruption will happen in the process, but it's only typical, when there's displeasure over numbers that are being called out, when it's definitely not in favor of a particular party. But Mr. Dazang has talked about following the rule, the process. But if we want to go by what is always being said about the electoral process and how the electoral umpire should ensure that every election, they should take the lessons learned from this election and apply to the next one. We have November 16 around the corner, for Ondo governorship election. What does this say if you want to give an assessment of what is playing out in Edo State right now, especially for the electoral umpire?
Well, the electoral umpire is not solely responsible for credibility of any election. It's its actions and it relies on the grace and benevolence sometimes of other stakeholders. For instance, INEC cannot provide security for itself. And that's why I was shocked when they said they had to relocate Collation Center, perhaps due to security concern. Because INEC, over the years, had established what is called Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, that is chaired by the National Security Advisor with INEC chairman as alternate chair. And they have their own budget. And that's why I'm curious to find out what kind of threat cannot be neutralized by the security agencies to have warranted the relocation of the polling unit or the collation center. If we have over 40,000 security agents, we agree that, yes, most of them will be deployed to polling units. So when they are done, accompanying the results to the polling unit, to the ward collation center, they will relax because most of them have no business at the collation center. But that's not to say if there are proper planning, there shouldn't have been sufficient. Don't forget, election security in Edo is under the auspices of a Deputy Inspector General of Police. And if they did their threat assessment very well, they should have known that there should not be any vulnerability in any of the ward or local government or state collation center. But we do not know or have the entire information. We are only relying on what is in the public domain.
Yeah.
And so one should be very careful to be judgmental.
Yes.
I wish the police authority were here to also defend themselves.
You see, what I really find curious about some of these developments is something happened in 2020 in the same Edo State. We were about to conduct the off-cycle governorship election, and we were holding the last stakeholders forum meeting. All stakeholders were invited, including the security agencies. And a DIG was present at that stakeholders forum, representing the security agencies. And as we were conducting the stakeholders forum, someone now called our attention to the fact that a press conference was being given in Abuja by an assistant police commissioner and a DSS officer. And we said, what was it about? And he said, look, they are claiming that the security situation in Edo State was such that we could not conduct the election at the date that was scheduled. We were dumbfounded. So we now had to quickly switch on the television set. We were in that place. We did not see any threat. And we were with the DIG of the police. And there was an assistant police commissioner, several ranks down the ladder, saying that there was a security report, that the environment for the conduct of that election did not exist.
Yeah, I recall
So
that.
sometimes,
To be postponed.
you see, that's why sometimes when these things are being bandied, you begin to wonder, because you would have done your threat assessments before now. You would have known what the flashpoints are likely to be. And in addition to the security agencies, other stakeholders also do conduct these exercises, and they share this information with the security agencies. So if there are going to be certain threats, and you have been on ground before that time, you would have harvested information as to even the persons who are likely to perpetrate this violence.
But Mr. Ojo, you were on ground, and most of the reports we got was that rather most observers judged it as peaceful and commended the security forces for putting in their best to ensure that almost all the polling units, elections went smoothly and seamless, despite the little hitches that was reported. But again, you talked about collective responsibility, not just on INEC. There are other stakeholders whose responsibility, they have a role to play if electoral processes must be seamless in terms of promoting that peace and synergy to ensure that the electorate come out and express their civic responsibility.
So the truth, as I know it to be, is that INEC alone cannot single-handedly give credible elections. Let me give you an instance of another, apart from security. Yesterday, I think I mentioned it in my intervention late yesterday night on this platform. There were not enough vehicles to commute poll officials from the RAC center to the polling units where they were going to work. I don't know where to put that blame. Is it INEC that didn't recruit or hire enough buses? There were only 2 in Agbado Primary School, Akpakpava area of Oredo local government, where I observed the opening of polls yesterday morning. And these core members were ready by 7. The materials have been distributed, but they could not move because there were not enough vehicles and there were no security men to accompany them to the polling units where they are going to work. Can you see? So in time past, we have seen NURTW, NATO, and both owners sabotaging INEC.
There was even MOU we heard INEC
There have
signed.
always been MOU. There have always been MOU. But INEC has never enforced bit of those MOU. And that's part of the problem. I don't know whether that's what happened yesterday, because another school of thought was saying maybe the commission did not hire enough buses because of the hike in the price of petrol. As at the time they did the budget, the price was how much were we buying it before the recent hike?
690 there.
So maybe the budget for fuel.
I don't know where you were buying yours at 500.
No. Before the one of recent, the one that took us to 1,000 naira. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm only saying that there are different school of thought about what that try to explain what happened yesterday morning at that particular RAC center. That one, could it be sabotage from the NURTW that they didn't bring enough buses? There were only 2, and there were about 50 core members to be transported.
But if I remember, and this was publicized, and I saw it and I read it, the commission revisited that MOU with the vendors.
What?
And
if they gave them
going by the current
and
situation.
the visitation,
yes,
the visitation of the MOU was to reflect the current increases, so that
I remember now, there were now issues around that after the commission had paid 50%. I mean, I'm alluding to the fact that credibility and success of early election is not just one, it's not the responsibility of only the empire. What I've also had on ground in Benin was that some of the hired bus drivers said they didn't have cash to go and buy fuel. So, and some of them said they were looking for fuel to buy. How will you be looking for fuel to buy on the morning of election when there is lockdown from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.?
And you know, this falls back and mar the process and rubs off on INEC because the complaint were that materials did not arrive on time.
And that there was late commencement to the extent that INEC had to issue a statement around 1:52 p.m. yesterday extending the hours of voting. So what I'm saying invariably is that this issue of, I mean, I can write how election will pan out, even without observing election. In the last 25 years that I've been observing election in Nigeria, it seems to follow the same trajectory with very little
modifications.
Modifications here and there. The nature and character of Nigerian politicians can be predicted. They are always desperate to win, particularly the dominant ones. Particularly them. Okay, look at it this way, Ruth. Did you know that out of 18 political parties that contested this election that is about to be concluded?
17.
18.
Okay, it was 18. Okay.
One was added at the latter stage.
Okay.
18. Out of these 18, just Monday or Tuesday last week, 5 of them stepped down for the candidate of APC. Why did they not step down within the statutory period that the law say you can step down? It used to be 45 days, but it has been reviewed now. I think maybe 90 days to election. You cannot step down because INEC had already produced the ballot paper.
So if the law says you cannot step down 90 days thereabout, why are they allowing it?
No, they didn't allow it.
They are breaching the law.
They are breaching the law, patently breaching the law. But you see, they still come out in front of the media, address media press conference. They knew already that INEC had printed the ballot paper. They didn't step down so that INEC would not have included. Don't forget, the ballot paper are customized.
Yes.
Only the number of parties contesting will be reflected on ballot paper. So, in that sense, I'm just telling you how politicians can undermine you if you are not very careful. And there is just a limit to what you can do with the best laid plans and best of intentions. Imagine this issue of NURTW, you already had a revised MOU, you are already being paid. In fact, in the last general election, you know they were telling INEC that they need cash, that the cashless was going to impact on, they need cash. INEC chairman had to go and meet governor of Central Bank, Governor Emefiele at that time, to request for cash to give to these people. So now, if you have already received 50% of your mobilization fee, why shouldn't you go and source fuel? Meanwhile, I went out on Friday. I saw that there was no fuel scarcity, at least in Benin. What happened is that, just like in Abuja, if it's NNPC, which sells a little lower, there would be a very long queue. There was a long queue in there. But all the IPMAN stations, there are no queues. People, I don't know for how much they were selling, but people were driving and buying. So what will be your, and I'm saying this against the background that some of these NURTW also have political allegiance.
But the point is,
political, they have, you know what it is, you know, many of them are stooges of politicians, and they play by the dictates of their godfathers. So sometimes they are used to undermine the process, deliberately so. But it's just that INEC itself has not found courage
now
to prosecute.
That
those
is
who
where
are
I'm
involved
getting to, Mr. Ojo.
in the breach of
That's
contractual
it, because it's a law. It's there in the law. You sign an MOU, or don't they understand the power of breaching a contract? Is it that INEC is not, enforcing that law or taking people to court, to face the penalty?
You see, I've always said that I sympathize with whoever is INEC chairman, because you are asked to do a task for which you don't have even the power to do. And you have to work with a legion of stakeholders, and you only prevail on them through moral suasion. You cannot compel them to do their work. For example, even where the security agencies misbehave, there is nothing you can do. I recall, for example, in one of the elections where violence was rampant, and one of the national commissioners expressed exasperation at the level of violence and how the security agencies allowed the violence to take place. And the next thing was, they said, okay, since you want to come out and embarrass us, you go and secure the elections yourself. So if you are in that position, what do? You don't have security agencies. You don't have vehicles. You have to depend on these vendors. And assuming you even want to acquire these vehicles, where is the budget? And how do you run another bureaucracy? Because if you want to do a transport company, it's another bureaucracy for which you don't also have expertise. So there are challenges for which you don't have, you rely on, you have to be the best diplomat in the world to do that job.
Mr.
Even when you are hurting, even when people are frustrating you, you keep a smile.
Mr.
And you can see that,
I want to believe.
You can see that each time I come here, have you noticed something? I always smile.
Yes, and I want to believe during your tenure, when you were serving as director publicity,
yes,
and voter education, you experienced some of these challenges. My question is, why does it linger? Because, Mr. Ojo, I'm not predicting, but when we're talking Ondo election, I want to believe some of these issues will still spring up. Why are these recommendations? Because I want to believe that there's been recommendations, from different clients.
There are times when there are improvements and they reflect in the conduct of elections. So but the problem is that there is an oscillation between excellence and mediocrity. When things work out, when each stakeholder does his part very well, the outcome is superlative, it's excellent.
Yes.
But when one out of the others, because all the stakeholders in the process are critical, the media, civil society, security agencies, observers, all of them are critical to the process. And if just one of them does not play his part well, it affects the conduct of the election. And at the end of the day, the blame is on INEC, because it's the lead agency, it's the commission that is mandated to conduct elections, not the security agencies, not NATO, not AUWRT, not the media, not civil society, not observers, not traditional rulers. So it can be very frustrating, and that's why I said I sympathize with, and I've been lucky to know at least 4 or 2 INEC chairpersons before they came, and each time any one of them came and had the privilege to meet him, the first thing I tell him that I don't know whether to congratulate or to commiserate with him, because this is a graveyard of heart and reputations. So please inform yourself about that. That's number one. Number two, You need patience. You need patience because you'll be insulted, you'll be vilified, you'll be humiliated, you'll be embarrassed. Anything that happens in the field will be attributed to you.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that people don't even understand these complexities, except those who are close, who are involved in the process, who know that most of the time the commission itself is helpless. People commit electoral offenses, yet you don't have power to sanction them. You don't have the resources to sanction them. And you canvass for the establishment of an electoral offenses commission and tribunal, which the commission did since 2007. And I was privileged to accompany an INEC chairman to the National Assembly where he made a case for that. And after that, the Ways Committee recommended the establishment of the same commission and tribunal. And up till now, this commission and tribunal is yet to be put in place. Because if we had it in place, it would check the impunity with which certain things have been done. Either way, whether you are an INEC staff or not, whether you are a politician or not, if you violate the laws, you are punished to the full extent of the law. But that doesn't happen. So people carry on with impunity. They do things recklessly, knowing that they will not be punished, they will not be sanctioned. And when others see that they are not sanctioned, they are emboldened to follow suit. So these are some of the challenges about the process, and we keep hoping, and we try to see how we can engage with Nigerians to understand the challenges, and so that pressure can be brought about, brought to bear on the National Assembly to, reform some of these laws in such a fashion that we can have very credible and transparent elections. Because a lot of work needs to be done. Yes, the Electoral Act was recently amended, and there were very progressive provisions, but there are still things to be done. For example, after the conduct of the 2023 elections, and the fact that the election results were not uploaded real time in the presidential election, a lot of people are not keen on participating in the process. And for you to get people interested, you need to say that by law, you must transmit results. Since the Supreme Court said that the law does not cover that, then you need to change the law in such a fashion that mandates the commission to transmit these results.
It's just
because Nigerians have seen that the upload of these results confer more transparency to the process.
Yes, and it gives the electorate, confidence in the process. Mr. Ojo, we're at a time that, as a nation, we must consistently come together, as a stakeholder. Everybody is a stakeholder in this process because you will vote at one point in time in your life. Deepening, the nation's democracy requires a whole lot. And based on what Mr. Dazang is sharing with us, based on the experience from INEC's perspective, you, from the, from a stakeholder perspective now, I'm sure you've always brought out your recommendations, for a seamless process or credible process. If we take a clue from other climes around the world, we're still lagging behind.
Yeah, because democracy is not a sprint, it's not 100 meters dash, it's a marathon. America today is grappling with its own challenges, even in the elections. Look at the rhetorics. Over 250 years of electoral democracy in the US. Look at the speech that is being spewed by the major contenders in this November 5th election in the US. Would you have expected, if it's an African country, you say, yeah, we blame ourselves. But we saw what's happening between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, calling each other unprintable names, even during the debate and all of that. So, it's part of the package. Even for us who are analysts, there are those who pick fight with us and say, how much did they pay you? It's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's a thankless job. So it's not only an chairman that you should condemn, commiserate or commend or whatever. Some of us, we go through baptism of fire because there are people who will disagree with you. No matter your neutrality or how you want to maintain balance. You say, I didn't expect you to go and say that too. Eh? What are you saying? What's the nonsense? You are not on the field. We are the one on the field. Which field are they? They are talking from one police that there are 4,519 polling units. Do they have an omnibus view or, panoramic view of everywhere? So everybody is an expert when it comes to, if you go to social media now, there is a lot of toxic comments on social media that you will even be afraid.
Even figures.
Bandit.
Even figures. I went online and I just shut it down.
There were videos that have been released. There were so many. So it is about whom we are. Ruth, it is whom we are. And if you don't have thick skin, you can't survive. Even in public analysis, even in any public office. Because even I pity governors and presidents, because diverse opinions are canvassed to them on daily basis. And sometimes they are confused. Anyway, the most important thing for me is that it's a learning curve. Everything is a learning curve. If you recall in my earlier intervention when we started this afternoon session, I said, we talk about low voter turnout, and people are abandoning result of 1999, 2003, 2007, 2011. Former President Muhammadu Buhari said, but for the smart card reader, he may never have been president of Nigeria. You think he said that in a vacuum? That was the game changer. Because desperate politicians always influence presiding officers to, allow multiple voting, underage voting, because there was nothing beyond just bringing your card and then you use, somebody brings his PVC and then you look for their names on the register. The picture could be blurred. You don't even know whether that person is being impersonated. Yeah. And then you just tick, and then you hand over the ballot paper to that person. But by the time we involve technology, by the time smart card reader came in 2015, we saw how it changed the game. And since then, the number of voter turnouts nosedived. Because there is, now you cannot vote by proxy. You cannot vote, using all those tricks you used to use in terms of using somebody else's card to go and vote and all of that. And that's a significant improvement. So I just want us to give ourselves a pat on the back. We may be moving very slow, but we are making progress. It's just that we are impatient that we should have outgrown some of these things. But I have been privileged to observe election in US in 2010. I knew that system is also not perfect. Recall the controversy about Florida. Even the recent 2016 election that brought Donald Trump, the purported Russian hacker, how they influence the Cambridge Analytica's case in Nigeria and so on and all of that. So it's always, and people, I pity when people say, oh, let's go the way of NBA, let's have online voting. It's not that easy.
Especially in this
it's not that
time
easy.
Of disinformation.
In this era, you go online voting when you are not doing Big Brother Nigeria. Some people, they will not mind paying somebody 500 billion to come and hack that database to discredit that process. So what do you do if you don't have a plan B? Because sometimes also, and I'm saying these routes to let us know that even technology has its own limitation.
Yeah.
Brazil has been using electronic voting for decades. The election that brought Lula da Silva in 2022 was hotly contested. That the supporters of the what is his name, Bolsonaro, did not allow for inauguration. They invaded. This came after the one that happened in U.S. Congress on January 6, 2020. They invaded and said, no, the election was stolen against an incumbent. This is Brazil. This is not Nigeria. And meanwhile, up to today, Donald Trump is still claiming that his election in 2020 was stolen, that he didn't lose.
Yeah.
And when they asked him, in 2024, he said the only thing that will make him lose is if it's rigged out. You can see that kind of mindset. And that's to tell you politicians are the same everywhere. And sometimes you are between the devil and the deep blue sea in conduct, because even with your genuineness of intention, out of their desperation, you can do and undo. Imagine politicians that will claim a candidate that is alive is dead, and they will procure his death certificate for you. They will bring his death certificate for a living person, just to substitute that person. The person is alive. Oh. They will go and pay and get a death certificate for a living. So if you say a death certificate, will you not honor it? It's not by word of mouth. And that is how desperate the Nigerian political class can be when they want to undermine the process. So we don't have a flawless process, but I'm saying we are making incremental success. We just want to build on it. We want each election to be better version.
Yes.
I mean, in yesterday's one, we didn't hear of any pre-filled election result, which is an improvement on what happened.
Or compromise of ad hoc staff, allegedly.
Maybe compromise, say for one or two, instances, which is isolated. So to that extent, I know that with time, we will continue to mature, because there is no alternative to democracy. Alternative to democracy is worse than whatever you are seeing on display right now. Those who are under military rule, I was born under military rule. I lived most of my life under military rule, and I know it's not the best for us. So if you understand what it means to be under an autocracy, you will tolerate whatever is happening, in spite of the sharp practices, in spite of the fact that they are not welcome. They are not something we should gloss over, or we should comment, or we should explain away or wish away. But the alternative to what we have now is far worse, because you and I can come there and challenge what is being done. We can expose the truth. We can comment freely. Unlike Idi that says freedom of information is free, but freedom after information is not. Freedom of information is guaranteed, but freedom after information is what is not guaranteed. But I mean, largely in Nigeria, freedom after information is also. I mean, we've called out our leaders on a number of occasions. The most important thing is that we need to show a higher level of tolerance. And if there are no desperate politicians, I believe INEC will have made more significant progress than we currently are recording. Because they need, INEC have had at every point to be a step ahead of the political class, to be able to deliver successful elections. Otherwise, I mean, look at the party that after the conclusion of nomination, a party went to court and got an injunction that it must be on the ballot. That's why many people did not know there is even an 18th candidate.
Yes.
And INEC is duty bound. In fact, about 2 political parties have to change, substitute their candidate. And that's why when people say, oh, let's have pictures of candidates on ballot paper, INEC tried it in 2007. It boomeranged. Because last minute, you will see a court invalidating the nomination of a candidate and declaring another person as the winner. So you have already printed ballot paper in hundreds of thousands with pictures of this person who has now been finally disqualified. So what do? You throw it away and go and reprint. Since that 2007, Ogadi, Nick, you remember?
Yeah.
Since that 2007, INEC has not toyed with the idea. They said, no, it's only the party logo. So even if you disqualify a candidate, you have not disqualified the party. Because every vote that is cast for the party. It's the party that nominates the candidate. In fact, I have seen situations where a party is disqualified, the party still contested the election, but INEC declared the party as the winner, but could not give certificate of return until when the issue of who is the rightful candidate is sorted out by the court of law. So it's a very complex exercise, but suffice to say that Nigerians need to know that credibility of election is not just INEC's responsibility. The security has a key role to play, as we have seen, with issues around the vulnerability of collation centers. You can't expect collation officers, return officers to leave their job and be providing security. Do they have guns? Do they have what it takes to protect the environment where they are going to do collation? The same thing with the issue of logistics that we have talked about. How many vehicles will INEC buy to be able to deliver early commencement of voting? Because it cannot, if just imagine 4,519 polling units are in Edo, does it mean INEC will go and procure 4,519 vehicles to serve each of the polling units? Where is the resources?
But you know, the part of the challenge again, Mr. Dazang, a lot of people are not, they say knowledge is power, right?
Sure.
And information, of course, is what builds that knowledge. This issue of voter education is one, you've served as Director of Voter Education and Publicity. I want to believe during time, not because you're here, you did your best, right? Well, you're not concurring.
Well, you see,
okay.
You are putting me in a difficult position.
Okay,
because
but where I'm headed, hold on, Mr. Dazang, where I'm headed is the fact that a lot of, the electorate rather, a lot of people don't even understand what it takes, don't even understand the Electoral Act, what it provides. I know that's not the job of INEC to educate based on the electoral. It's part of their job. Okay, job. Fantastic. But are they providing that necessary sensitization, enlightenment to educate the populace to understand your right, know your place, even political parties on certain rules, on the do's and the don'ts? There is still a huge gap.
Yes, you see, voter education is a huge thing, and it demands to be done continuously. It's not something you do when elections are afoot. You do voter education around the cycles, pre-election, during the election, post-election, like some of the issues we are noting now in the conduct of Edo elections. And we are discussing them. They are all part of voter education. But you see, what I've seen is that voter education costs money. It's expensive. And you can imagine, but for the grace of NTA, we've been sitting here discussing for how many hours? And I'll be here for 2-3 days discussing this election. Assuming I was going to pay for those hours, so giving you a tariff, how much do you charge per advert, per 1 minute, 60 minutes, and so on and so forth? Then it gives you an idea of how expensive it can be. But what INEC has tried to do is also to take advantage of the resources of other stakeholders, like what we are doing now. And also to take advantage of resources of people in civil society, our colleagues in the media, and so on and so forth, to do voter education. The commission engages, it has a structured engagement with the media, with civil society, with political parties, with security agencies, and with other stakeholders that are critical to the process, traditional rulers and so on and so forth. So, and in that engagement, we also solicit the support and help of these critical stakeholders.
Well, I just got reports, another 55 minutes, you know, they're taking a break for another 55 minutes at the Collation Center there because Ikpogba Oka, they're still not ready, so they're giving another 55 minutes. Go ahead.
So, you know, we realized a long time ago that we couldn't do it alone as a commission. We needed to collaborate with other stakeholders. So we do that, civil society, with the media, with political parties, with agencies such as the National Orientation Agency. These are stakeholders that have enormous resources, and they are ubiquitous. They are everywhere. NOAA, for example, has offices in all the 774 local governments. So occasionally we fall back on their resources. They help us to do voter education. And, you know, some of us also have been doing that even in retirement, because we realize that the commission itself cannot do it alone. And secondly, there are limits to which people can believe INEC if it is seen to be talking about itself. It is likely that people even believe what I'm saying now more than when I was in the commission, because they will say, what do you expect? He has to say that because that's why he works. But now that I'm not in INEC, I can say certain things that they can't even say. There are certain pieces of information, certain nuggets I try to drop, certain insights I try to provide, which even though they have them, they cannot give them. Because if they say them, people will say, what do you expect them to say? But other people are saying it. If he is saying it, they cannot appreciate the magnitude of the challenge. And even as ANEC is trying to do that and to engage with political parties, the unfortunate part is that the political parties, which are the preeminent stakeholder in this process, and who are the chief beneficiary, hardly do their own role. They hardly do their own part of educating even the voters that they want to vote for them. It is when elections are about to take place that they go out and begin to campaign. Once they get elected, they don't even go back and hold town meetings with their constituents. They don't explain to them, okay, I contested this election on the basis that if I go to the National Assembly, I'll canvass this position. I'll canvass this policy or this bill, and so on and so forth. This is how far I've gone. I've worked with so members to do this, to, you know, raise bill. And this is the stage the bill has reached. They don't do that.
Well, out of curiosity, Mr. Dazang, before an election takes place, there's usually a time frame of like more than a year when registration for people. No, I want to ask a very important question. Since you said you're not in, of course, you're not in service, so you are privileged to say what you can.
Yes.
So, does INEC rather provide, is there a stipulated budget? Can it be included, you know, budget for voter education, enlightenment? Since you said it costs money to reach out. So is there a stipulated budget?
Normally, for everything you do in the commission, you must do a budget.
So is the budget provided for?
Yeah, it's provided for, but it is the extent to which it is provided for that is the challenge. And thankfully also we get support from development partners. There are areas in which development partners intervene. They provide technical support outside that budget. You know, they provide support for voter education, for inclusion, for example, particularly for people people with disabilities.
Yeah.
And other areas. They support other areas, operational areas. They support political party finance, issues like that. So they offer support on a broad basis. And also in providing that support, we work with civil society that have the expertise, and they make their expertise available to us. And it is because of that collaboration and that interaction that they now become familiar with what we are doing, and we make electoral information available to them. They run with it. They also, when they go out, the way they, discusses the electoral process, you would assume he's an annex staff. And it's a function of being familiar with the processes over time. He becomes like your evangelist. He evangelizes for you. pro bono.
Political evangelist.
Pro bono.
So you see.
No, emphasize that very well so that people know that I don't get paid for coming here.
Yeah,
but we do appreciate you.
Yes, so that is the thing. He does it for us gratis. We do it for added gratis. And you see, if you are committed to something, and this project, the democracy project, is something to which some of us were committed, not just today. In a previous reincarnation, I was an activist. We canvassed for democracy. We fought against military rule. We risked our lives. And so what I'm doing consistent with that previous struggle to enthrone democracy, because we have seen the bad side of dictatorship. Unfortunately, we are not doing it the right way. And that is what is frustrating some of us. By now, we would have thought that, this democracy should begin to deliver good governance in such a way as to improve the lot of Nigerians. But it is not panning out that way. Instead, we are seeing a diminishment in the delivery of good governance. From 1999 to this time, you only see a decline in that delivery of good governance. The kind of things, for example, with smaller resources that President Olusegun Obasanjo was able to do on his watch are things others could not do on their watch even with more resources. That is the tragedy. Go and look at what happened during his time. Some of the things he did is part of the constraints and is part of his own limitations as an individual. And look at what is happening now. You regret what is happening. So I think some of us find this consistent with what we had been doing before. We had been saying, look, democracy is good for us. It's the way to go. It's what will, bring development in the time.
Yes.
But it is proving otherwise.
Well, Mr. Dazang, the question I asked was the utilization of the funds effectively to aid voter education, where people are not educated in rural communities, translating some of these rules and the do's and the don'ts in their local dialects. That is the question.
Yes, what we did, unfortunately I wasn't fluent in Yoruba or Igbo. I wish I was. But what I did, coming from the media and giving my facility with the Hausa language and giving the many Hausa broadcast stations, BBC Hausa, Radio Deutsche Welle, VOA, Radio France International, I was able to use their platforms effectively to deliver on voter education, reaching the lowest common denominator in the villages. There are people up to now that have retired who call me from different parts of the north to find out how I'm doing. I have a friend from Tongo in Adamawa State who calls me every week just to find out how I'm doing. And he got to know me through the voter education I was doing. I have many friends from in Jigawa, Borno, Sokoto, Kebbi, all across the country, even people who speak Hausa but are domiciled outside the north, Ibadan, Lagos, Enugu. In fact, there were some in Enugu that were calling me Ekweme. They gave me title Ekweme one of INEC.
Okay, you're just one man, Mr. Desan.
Yes,
if Mr. Ojo will come in now as part of innovative means, INEC can deploy to ensure that they bridge some of these gaps we're talking about, to raise that enlightenment, because it's a big issue. A lot of people still don't even understand. They just feel, okay, it's just the D-Day, let's just go and vote. That is it. They're still lagging behind in a lot of ways to the necessary information that is not being provided out there.
I agree with you that there are challenges, and you need resources, and you need resources, financial and human. You need to develop a core of individuals who will go out and do the job. And you need also to collaborate with individuals who have resources that can aid the process. So that's the way to go. When you do it like that and on a sustained basis, you don't do it on an ad hoc basis, and you don't do it just, you don't tie it to a particular electoral cycle. It has to be continuous. It has to be interminable. Across the 3 election cycles, pre-election, during the election,
now we have
after the election.
less than 4 years to plan for another general election. So, Mr. Ojo, let's get your perspective on that. Innovative means INEC can, deploy.
INEC is doing its level best. INEC has a full department of voter education and publicity. But the limiting factor is insufficient human and financial resources. And like Nick has said, there are international non-governmental organizations and development partners that have also come in to chip in their support. But see, I think it's the political class that is not pulling their weight. There's limits everywhere to what the electoral management body can do in terms of sustainable voter education. The number of radio stations in Nigeria has grown exponentially. Likewise, the number of TV. There are even more online television, online newspapers, online TV, online radio than there are even the ones that are known.
The traditional media.
So even if you want to engage on a transactional basis, do you have the billions that will be needed? So INEC has been in partnership, working in partnership with National Orientation Agency, civil society organizations, even media. And that's why part of the stakeholders meeting that is held quarterly, to which I'm privileged to be invited, is there is also a day dedicated to meeting the media, meeting with civil society, meeting with security, meeting with political parties. But political parties are not pulling their weight. After election, they go into dormant position. They become inactive. And they are the primary beneficiary. They are. So if the kind of money they spend on vote buying in millions and billions, if they put a fraction of that into educating, even if it's them, what stops a political party from having a voter education section or even having a town hall meetings across the 6 geopolitical zones to enlighten the public, not necessarily their party members? It's part of their responsibility. They are primary beneficiaries. We keep saying there is low voter turnout, low voter turnout. They are part of the reason why there is low voter turnout. Because when they form government, they don't deliver on their campaign promises. They don't. And they are the purveyors of violence. And they are the one that undermines the process. So, I think that there's no doubt, yes, we need voter education, we need publicity, but the limit, there's a limit to what INEC can do, given the paucity of funds. And you could see that even elections, electoral planning has become exponentially more costly than before. Look at what the commission will be spending on running its offices in the 768 local government and 6 area councils, in the 36 state offices, in the 37 state offices actually, and in the head office, with over 16,000 workforce. Look at that. And there are elections to be held around the year. As we are talking now, there are members of the National Assembly who have died that INEC needs to go and conduct by-election to replace them. If Senator Monday Okwebolo is declared winner later today, if, please note this, if, I don't have contrary information, I don't know if, but at least APC is leading out of 17 local governments that have been announced. But the question, the attention I'm trying to draw is that if Senator Monday Okwebolo is declared winner, INEC is going to enter into another round of electoral planning, because he cannot be a governor and be a senator, and he's a serving senator. In fact, if Senator Monday Okwebolo is declared winner today, INEC will have to go and conduct 2 elections.
Because of his deputy.
His deputy is also a standing member of House of Reps. So INEC will have to fix date for another senatorial election and another House of Reps election in Edo State. Just like it's happening in Bayelsa. Doediri and his running mate. Both of them are serving senators at the time they became the governor and deputy governor. So INEC had to go and conduct fresh 2 senatorial elections. So the management of election, and you could see the cost of conducting one election.
Yeah.
With so many things that have gone, the prices of everything that have gone up. I don't know the magic INEC has been using even in meeting this statutory obligation of conducting routine elections. The last time we had stakeholder meeting, INEC chairman was complaining. As of that time, I think they have about 34 or 37 outstanding by-elections. By-elections, either as a result of death, resignation, or whatever. Over 30 that had to be conducted. So if these 2 now joins now, the number is increasing. So it's a catch-22 situation, because the nation itself is broke. You know, we've been borrowing to run the economy of this country. So when you say having sufficient, sustainable voter education, there's a limit to what INEC can do. And like Nick has said, civil society organization in fairness has been supportive. Even ahead of Edo elections, they've done radio programs, done road shows and all of that. NOA has been supportive, and donor partners have been supportive. But nobody seems to have limitless resources to deploy to only. Do you know how much INEC even spends on litigation? Not that it takes anybody to court, but every petition that is filed, INEC is joined. And in each of them, sometimes INEC have to go and hire a senior advocate of Nigeria, which does not come cheap. They have to outsource, because how many? I think now the commission has about 4 senior advocates, but just imagine in an election like the last general elections that have about 1,400 and something seats, imagine joining INEC in all of those petitions. It's overwhelming. Running an institution like the Independent National Electoral Commission is not easy. More so, given the fact that it has 768 local government offices and 6 area council offices, 37 state offices that are functional, not that dormant, not that you only go and activate them when it's 1 month to election, as is the case with the SEC. Because with State Independent Electoral Commission, they only have 1 state office. So those of them that have local government offices, their local government offices are largely dormant unless when they are having elections in view. So it takes a lot of resources to run a huge bureaucracy like INEC. So we need to, the media too should donate time pro bono to INEC to run jingles for them or to educate the public. Even newspapers can donate spaces for them. It's part of how we can. And then the Commission is also leveraging on technology. In fact, I can tell you for free that INEC has what is called CCC, Citizens Contact Center, where it interfaces with
the citizens.
And then they also have a very robust social media platforms like Facebook account, Twitter account.
You know, since you mentioned the media, they also have a very strong role to play because when the electoral umpire is putting in its best to ensure that the electoral process goes smoothly, whichever cycle of election we're talking about now. They're very powerful, and most times this disinformation of fake news we see mar the process. We've seen reports, APC urging Nigerians, to disregard press statements given by the PDP and all of that. We see all sections of news flying on the media, mostly online media. Even though there is no static regulation there, would you say that the role the media can play in projecting some of these ideologies that are supposed to project that trajectory we want to see positively impact on our democracy, how impactful or the other way around are they?
It's very impactful, but also know that the media is a catch-22 situation. Most of the privately owned media houses are owned by politicians.
Is that a challenge now?
You know that for a fact. You know now. You know. They are owned by politically exposed persons and who will further their own interest. And sometimes they also help with the spreading of this fake news. Ahead of this election, there was a particular report that the APC, convoy of the APC candidate killed 5 people. And it was reported across even many...
There was even reports that the court has nullified his candidacy.
On Friday.
Yes.
And so these are... But I'm only telling you the ownership structure of these media houses also play a key role in aiding and abetting disinformation and misinformation. And we need to put Nigeria first. That's my own appeal. We need to put Nigeria first because no matter what we do, the life of a nation is bigger and longer than that of any individual.
Which is the mantra for the NTA.
Yeah.
Which is?
National interest first.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we stand for.
Well,
I can proudly say that.
Speaking for the media, the media have been generous and gracious to the Commission. From my experience, on many occasions, the media have donated their spaces, airtime, and so on for the Commission. I recall that in time past, I brought one of our chairpersons to address the nation on NTA. And NTA donated its o'clock news is a segment of his 9 o'clock news for him to address Nigerians, to appeal to them, to come out and vote, and to do so peacefully. He was given 10 minutes. And we were donated similar time in 2011 and 2015. NTA did that for us. And I know FRCN has done that for us, AIT has done that for us, and so many media stations, radio stations. And I recall you've invited me several times to come and take advantage of your program, which I did. And anytime I'm invited, so many FM stations, from Kiss FM to Vision FM to Info FM to Capital FM. In fact, almost all I've gone to all the FM stations except maybe the ones that were created after my retirement. I've been there. I've honored their invitations. And there was an occasion I spoke from one program to the other for 10 hours, non-stop. Yes. And in fact, some will even call me from Kaduna, from Lagos, from Gusau, from Maiduguri, from Yola. They will call me even on phone. We arrange and we discuss for 30 minutes. And so the media had been very gracious. They had been very kind to me. And that is why anytime they call me, even in retirement, I come out. I try to reciprocate this kind gesture because I feel that we need to show gratitude. We need, as an ambassador of the Commission, I need to thank, and the only way to say thank you is to reciprocate the kind gesture of, and by the same token, persons of civil society also have invited me to facilitate 1 or 2 programs for them, and I've gone there, I've done that, and some of them have also expressed their own appreciation for my small effort. So it helps, it makes you happy that you are contributing your own little quota, and that also your people look. I've always appreciated you, it's just that I didn't know how to tell you, but I want to come out and show it. And
I'm sure you're also appreciating the likes of Mr. Jide Ojo here,
yes,
for his,
always
objective analysis.
We discussed for quite some time before the program started, and I did the same thing yesterday. I mean, throughout this period that I came, whoever came to contribute, you will discover is somebody I've known before, either in the academia or in the media or in civil society. Most of the people you invite are people I know.
Okay.
And these are people also that have helped me in time past.
Okay. And just before you chipped in, Mr. Joe was just showing his perspective as the role of the media. And but what you contributed was very impactful because, of course, you're speaking on behalf of the Commission, in time past, how the media has contributed to them. Yes. Mr. Ojo, you were going to conclude your thoughts before he chipped in. Yeah,
okay. So what the challenge I'm throwing is to the political class. A fraction of the money they use in doing vote buying, let them also contribute to educating the public, and for the betterment of our democratic consolidation project, because they are the biggest beneficiary. Politicians are the biggest beneficiary. There is no two-way about it. I'm not a politician, so I don't hold any political allegiance. So if they contribute, if they also organize town meetings, if they also sponsor even 30 minutes on radio or TV, it's part of their own corporate social responsibility. And it should not be tied to elections. It should not just be campaign adverts. We need it. INEC can design IEC materials, can give guidelines, and then everybody in the concentric circles of electoral stakeholders can chip in their own support to make sure. Okay, look at institutions like National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies. They already have a radio, democracy radio. You know, they can also use democracy radio to also project and provide, quality voter education, because I'm sure it's not for profit that they established that radio. So everybody just needs to chip in something. But the most important thing for us to know is that democracy is not a 100-meter sprint. It's a marathon. And to the fact that because it's a marathon, it's a work in progress. And every one of us must contribute to that. Look at me, I closed with this station midnight yesterday.
And you're back here with us.
And I came by the first flight this morning. And the only thing is just to shave and to drop my bag, and I'm here. And you could see the kind of enormity of the contributions one is trying to make to nation building.
Yes.
And it's not, there are so many of us across the spectrum in civil society that are doing similarly what I'm doing.
Okay, just to remind our viewers that the Collation Center is still there. They're still open, but they're not in session yet because, of course, they're waiting for the last local government, that's the Ikugba Oka local government area. Of course, we have about 400,000 registered voters from that, and the largest actually, Oredo was announced earlier, APC leading with 30,780 votes, Labour Party 5,389 votes, and the PDP 24,938 votes. So I think it was about 10 minutes to the top of the hour, 7 p.m. I just notified you that they give 55 minutes, so I'm sure any moment, let's say less than 20 minutes, they should be back. We're hoping because collation is still ongoing. They're still collating the results.
But it's important for us to be patient with the process, to err on the side of caution. Because this is the critical juncture that we have. And I'm not surprised it's taking this long. Historically, very big local governments are always delaying. If you go to Bayelsa, Southern Ijaw is the biggest local government, and that can take a whole day to delay the conclusion of collation. And so we just know that let them take as much time as they need to do, but let them do a thorough work. Let them do a thorough job. What I don't want to hear is tomorrow results manipulated, mutilated, or bloated figures being added. Because one thing that, Ruth, I think we need to point out with the statement INEC has issued, and this is a new normal to me. I was shocked when I read it that some people were imputing fake figures into the
polling units result
that have been uploaded, and that could be what a section of the political class was lashing onto to claim victory. In a sense, do you get? Because it is believed that whatever you upload is what will be downloaded and quoted. And if you have found a way of manipulating the result of in the EC8 form, because the EC8 form is not sacrosanct, we need to know that. And that's why when you talk about result management process, is the most painstaking of all the exercises, because historically, from my experience as a civil society person, we have always said in our situations room that collation is the weakest link in our electoral process. And there is a dictum that those who cast the vote do not determine the winner. It's those who count the vote that determines the winner. hope you get the input. I think that was attributed to Joseph Stalin.
Yes.
Many decades ago, that it is not the person who votes that determines winner. It is the person who counts. Because it's what you count that determines the final outcome. So if you double count or undercount, it has spiral effect on the outcome, the final outcome. So it is very important that I hope there will be no objection to
to the final local government
to this final
results,
local
yes.
government, and that this result will stand the credibility quotient, because that is how institutions are built. When you have a process, and you know there is a section of the law that says election will not be invalidated on the basis of infractions, unless such infractions are substantially non-compliant. So,
that's a tough one.
It's a tough one, yeah, because if you say...
Because how do you determine that?
No, there is a way to determine,
Okay.
and that's why there have been arguments that we should even shift the body of proof on INEC to prove that INEC is a credible election.
I think the parts of the Constitution were clever because they try also to insulate, to protect INEC as an institution, which is why they insist you must prove substantial non-compliance.
Non-compliance, yeah.
Because I think they must have taken into cognizance the fact that even INEC can err. But to the extent that this error or these errors are not substantial as to mar the election, then it can be excused. And that is why it is challenging for you to prove non-compliance. And secondly, the things you need to prove non-compliance are generally not in your domain or in your custody, but in the custody of INEC. So, I think it stands to reason, even though the court can subpoena INEC and insist that it makes some of this information available to you. But it stands to reason that in such circumstances, where there is no order, it will be challenging for you to obtain. For example, you want to take me to task. I don't think it will be expedient for me to make it easy for you. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. So I think also played out, particularly in the course of the Supreme Court judgment. The opposition candidates were bitter that they made efforts to obtain certain pieces of information from INEC, and INEC was not forthcoming. So the deck is stacked against the candidate who goes to court, actually, and it's because of your inability to prove substantial non-compliance, you lose the case. And from my own small experience with similar judgments, I took my time to get the certified true copies of previous judgments when I was in the commission, and to study them. And it became, it became very clear to me that it is, and I looked at some of the cases, particularly by Vice President Atiku and former President General Muhammadu Buhari as then president. I had time to read all those certified copies, and it became very. In fact, I was not surprised at shortcomings of the lawyers presented in the report. Because even in those judgments, you could see that there were certain things that the lawyers of these other candidates, there were things they didn't take their time to do their homework. That sometimes lawyers may not really tell you that your case is tenuous or that is going to be challenging. But they will urge you on, you know, perhaps for their own pecuniary reasons. Especially a friend, a PhD in law, and we now went back and went through these cases with him, and then I made those observations, and he said, yes, that is how the law was configured.
You did your homework.
Yes, so it became very clear when these other candidates, unfortunately, when some of them want to take certain positions, they don't consult people. They just assume that sons out there, and they will do the magic for them. So.
You know, Mr. Ojo, were indices that played out, you know, before this election yesterday. There's always expectation from the people. And we had a focal group panel from Benin, that was on Friday, and some of the electorate, the eligible voters, you know, expressed what they're expecting from the incoming governor, whoever emerges. This is normal. Whenever there's election like this, your expectations will be high because you expect a change from what you have experienced in the past years. For you, looking at governance and whoever emerges, we're hoping that that will be announced by INEC today. We're hoping, fingers crossed. What should be the center of concentration, especially as regarding policies or reforms that will impact the people positively? You've been to Edo State, so you're familiar with the challenges there. I'm from Edo State, but I hardly visit.
Don't say it loud.
I will say, I whispered it.
People won't believe that
I
you are from
whispered it.
You look every inch a northerner.
Okay.
Nevertheless, anyway, you are from Edo North. You are still a northerner. The point is, I think it's Matthew Kumu, 42nd or 43rd governor of New York City, New York State, that says politicians campaign in poetry but deliver in prose. That's part of our problem. They are fighting tooth and nail now to be governor. As we say in local parlance, being a governor comes with assets and liabilities. Do you know Edo is the third most indebted state in Nigeria from records? Third most indebted. So whoever wins has his job cut out for him. Of course, Edo is paying the minimum wage. It's one state that is paying, you know, I think a little above minimum wage. You see, the hardship, the hunger, the rising cost of living is impacting the Edolites. That's why they will tell their votes first 1,000 naira. Because the poverty rate in Edo State is also very high, just like the unemployment rate. So all development indices in Edo State points to, you know, there's a saying that it's too cold for comfort. It's too cold for comfort. The honeymoon will not be long. Anybody honeymoon will be very short-lived because the expectations of people are very high. Of the dominant candidates are promising so much. Okpebolo has said he will recruit 5,000 teachers in his first 100 days. Will he be able to do it? I do hope he will not be telling us, oh, I never knew the rot was this deep when I was contesting and all of that. If it's also Ighodalo that we have also seen situations wins and partners with Godfather within months. Look at what is playing out in Rivers State. The relationship between Wike and Sim Fubara was chummy until barely 3 months after the inauguration and the bubble burst. So I just hope whoever wins ultimately in Edo will get the support of critical stakeholders for him to succeed. Just the same way those stakeholders stood by him to win at the polls. Because if the attitude of those who work what's in it for me, and they start to, if they start to make of it or compensation, it might be very difficult for him to deliver on his campaign promises. I don't know if you are getting my drift, because one problem with politicians is that, particularly if you are holding what they call political IOUs, you know, winning at the poll is not one man. Even if you are a billionaire, you have people that work for you. And when those people work for you, they are working for you with expectation of a reward. And some will even tell you, I want commissionership. Did you know how long it took Obaseki to be able to even form his cabinet after he won in 2020? It took over 1 year. Because he came from APC to PDP. And the owners of PDP said, we gave you this platform. You have to compensate us. You understand? So there were so many demands that were made of him that he faltered for a period of time before he asserted his authority. I was even wondering, it was almost more than 1 year before he could form his cabinet, because you want to form an inclusive cabinet. This one will tell you, I deliver my local government to you. This one will say, I deliver my ward to you. This one will say, I deliver the senatorial district to you. And all of them are coming with expectations of compensation. There are those who want contract. There are those who want employment. There are those who want other kind of reward. There are those who even will ask you to put them on monthly wages. Because the blackmail war will be, I work for you, I work for you, I work for you. And that is why the political office holders always find it difficult to deliver on their campaign promises. Because there are too many political IOUs, too many people that worked with for your victory, and you cannot turn your back against them. Otherwise, you become a bad person.
But that can be changed, right?
It can, but it will take a long time. Don't forget, everybody is hungry. Everybody is in dire need of resources. So those who are his canvassers, those who work in his campaign office, and those who donated heavy amount of money. If you read the newspapers, so many people donated hefty sums of money to prosecute this election. They did those donations with an eye on reward system. So that is one key challenge, and this is not peculiar to Edo. It cuts across. Even for President Tinubu, he cannot exhaust the payment of the IOUs. There are those who have access to it, who will be reminding, remember, I deliver my state to you. Remember, I did this. Remember even in the case of Aisha Buhari, at some point, 2 years into the administration of Buhari, she was said to have said, those who work for my husband were not even rewarded. Those who get compensated are not even people who worked for him. Because nobody wants to work pro bono any longer. Everybody works with the expectation. And for a state, yes, Edo is an oil-producing state, but Edo is heavily indebted. Edo also have infrastructural challenges. I mean, I went around the state. The state of infrastructure in that place can be better. Even though I won't say it's the worst in the country, but it can be better. And that is the challenge you face. Because in this contemporary time, people can easily track your campaign promises. They have websites, they have the agenda, 5-point agenda on the, just the same way people are holding President Tinubu to the 8-point renewed hope agenda. What have you been able to do to implement this agenda and all of that? So whoever wins have his work cut out for him. I don't even envy whoever becomes the governor in Edo or any state for that matter in this, unless you are just somebody who is unfeeling, who doesn't care about Uma, if we are not empathetic. Because there is practically no states where the Uma Misery Index has not increased substantially. You understand what I mean by Uma Misery Index? So you find out how many people cannot even feed, how many people cannot even afford the basic, how many people can you give palliatives?
So this brings me to this question, Mr. Dazang. Since Mr. Ojo does not envy whoever emerges
I don't do.
Yes.
Unless you just want to jollificate and care less about the sufferings of your people.
Yeah, but there are, structures that could be put in place that could be recommended in terms of human capital development, empowering the people. We will say some to differ that this has been in place through diverse means, but again, upscaling it is another, is another aspect to that. Now, looking at part of the job cut out for the incoming governor for this state, what would you recommend, in the areas of human capital development, especially for women also and the youths? We saw the number, you were there when we were doing the statistics, we saw the highest number of students and youths who were registered voters, in this election.
In fact, the demographics in
900 and some?
those states shows that 38% of the registered voters belong to the youth category, and most of them would also be students from the demographics we saw. And so anyone who emerges as governor has to address concerns of these demographics, the youths, the middle-aged, and the elderly, because each category has its own challenges. I align myself with Jide. I've been privileged to go around Benin City particularly, and there are serious infrastructure challenges. This is a city that is prone to flooding. On more than one occasion, the INEC office was flooded. It had to be rehabilitated. And in spite of that, even before this election, it was flooded again. This is just one example. In the course of conducting elections, we media houses to do voter education. And most of these media houses are not in the outskirts. For example, our AIT is situated is not within the city center. So it takes out, and you see for yourself the kind of challenges that the city has. And given its position, I've been relating with Edo even before my NYSC, when it was a former Bendel state. And we had a very good relation. Benue Plateau, they had a very good relationship with Bendel state. We had student exchanges. We started printing the Nigeria standard on the presses of the Observer, for example. Yes, so just to show you that, Edo College students need to have an exchange with students of government college KEFI, for example. Those are things I can recall. And with a city with that kind of pedigree and with a very proud culture, you know, one
rich cultural heritage.
Yes. So one would have expected the infrastructure to be better than what obtains. But I think for me, apart from infrastructure, the first thing is to address the concerns of youths. At one point, this state had a challenge with its reputation. A lot of people were even trafficked and so on and so forth. And yes, and issues dealing with cultism and so on. And at one point, there was no industry in that town other than those who are into furniture. Anytime I went to Benin on an assignment as a journalist, that was the first thing that used to strike me. That people can you make good furniture here and so on. So that seems to me to, at that time and up to today, to be the only industry that is thriving, and then a few hotels, and then transport companies. I think anyone who takes over needs to do better than that. He has to create jobs for youths. He has to improve on the infrastructure. He has to address the concerns particularly of also the elderly. You see, even in the course of the elections, so many elderly persons came out to vote.
Yes.
And even in the town hall, you could see that there was...
We saw the margin of 500, more than 500,000 who were registered voters.
Exactly.
From the demography.
Yes, so these are concerns that should be addressed. And the state is yet to live up to its former glory during the time of Ogomudia. I think that was one period for me that the state, it was not as this big, the city wasn't this big, but at least the infrastructure then was better than what obtains now from, if I recall, you know, because I was always visiting that area even before I went for my NYSC.
So, Mr. Ojo, which areas do you think, you know, the youths can be empowered, women also, as a way of recommending to whoever who emerges?
First and foremost is a lot of youth empowerment needs to happen. Government cannot give everybody a job, but government can provide the enabling environment, even if it's micro, small, and medium enterprises, encourage youth to participate. Then there is sports. You know, Bender used to be top flight in terms of, in the days of Bender Insurance,
yes,
NNB of Benin, the sports, the football, you know, you know.
I think there was a culture, there was a sports hub. Is it in Afuze?
Yes, yes.
It was noted for sports.
For rearing, and I think that needs to happen.
Yes.
Delta is doing extremely well. The National Youth Championship just ended, and Delta has been winning since the last 8 editions. And I think that's something that Bender, I mean,
you're still reminiscing on Bender Insurance.
Bender Insurance. You know, so in the area of sports, they can harvest a a lot of people from the street and make them to be productive. Then entertainment and creative industry. You know, you have Edo Pikin, you have Young Elder.
No.
Quite a number of, you know,
we have talented young people,
very
actually.
talented young people. And with this kit-making industry, which is a multi-million-dollar business, Edo is poised to also play a key role. I think in the creative and entertainment industry, the new incoming governor could look into that. Because how many people will you absorb in civil service, even with the best of intentions, with the new minimum wage, the high wage bill of every state, you'll be overwhelmed. So I think it's just to create the enabling environment, provide security. Security is very key.
You didn't mention agriculture.
No, I was coming to that.
Okay.
Security, because even with agriculture, you will need security. Then you need to improve. I don't know what the three major federal roads that leads into and out of Edo State are in very bad shape. The one out of is very terrible. The one through Sapele to Warri and is also in bad shape. The one coming from Lagos to Benin is also in bad shape. And federal government, whoever wins, and if you're lucky to have an APC governor, one of the things to do will be to pally the federal government, even if it's going to be PPP, to fix the infrastructure. Because I was told by my colleague that we flew to Benin together on Thursday that our own colleague that drove to Benin had to travel. If you want to enter, you can't enter through Auchi, Okula. You have to go through Sobe. Sobe is almost the contiguous town to Ondo State. So you almost get to Ondo before you now start coming back to enter Benin. And that's like a Israelite, it's like a detour. So if the federal roads in Edo State is, if those roads are fixed, it's going to help the government because it will promote agriculture. You are talking about agriculture. You need good roads so that those you will suffer less of post-harvest losses.
Yes, when you're transporting this produce.
Exactly. I mean, Edo is an agrarian society, just like many.
Which is why, you know, investments should be really looked into in that direction.
Investment industry, industry that can turn those plantain,
I mentioned it.
you know, that can turn them into semi-finished products. And you know, it's contiguous to Lagos, you know, because it's just passing, or you are in Shagamu, then you are in Lagos. And the agricultural products can be supplied to states like Ogun and Ogundo and even Lagos. So there are potentials. You know, you need
in
to.
fact, most of the pineapples and plantains that are brought to Zuba are brought in from.
Yeah, I have one of the best. Yeah, exactly. So agriculture, creative and entertainment, music, you know, sports. These are low-hanging fruits that, because those are what can take the youth out of gangsterism and cultism and give them to use their positive
energy. He
energy.
talked about the negative image based on those who go out and engage in this fraudulent deals online. So digitalization, digital skills is also part of it.
ICT, actually.
Yes.
ICT.
Instead of, you know, they can tilt that knowledge, the negative aspect, into positive.
Yes, I look at you as a role model and ambassador of those states, you know, doing great in
I'll
journalism.
take that as a compliment,
in journalism career. No, it's a compliment, obviously a compliment. So you need role modeling, because it's also important. Who are the role models to the youth? Who are they looking? Who do they want to be like? It's also very important, you know. And so whoever is the incoming governor needs to tighten his belt and double down on the very many challenges that he will meet. Unfortunately, he's not going to meet a lot of resources in the treasury, given the high level of indebtedness the state has incurred. But it's not only Edo that is so in Lagos as buoyant as Lagos is. Lagos is one of the biggest indebted states in Nigeria. So it's not like one is taking, one is running down Edo State for the level of indebtedness. Even federal government is one of the biggest borrower of funds. But what do you borrow to do? Is how much of this has gone into infrastructural development, agricultural development, ICT. If you have ICT labs, ICT hubs across the state, you can leverage on that.
Even the state government.
And the state also, I learned it has a refinery, a state-owned refinery now, which the governor Obaseki said is working. I hope that is kept active and functioning, so that it doesn't turn like our 4 refineries that are not.
So even the state government has a path, has a pact cut out for him, because there are interventions from the federal level, but it depends on how you position yourself for your states to benefit skills. One of the strong agenda for this administration. Yeah. And then we're talking food security. There are interventions from the Ministry of Agriculture and all of that. It's how you position yourself to the market.
How much of the godfathers are willing to let go. I keep hammering on this. Where you are owing a lot in terms of IOU, political IOU, people exerting demands on you for assisting you to win elections. And you don't want to be in their black books, you don't want them to talk bad about you, that you are an ingrate and all of that. Because by the time you want to satisfy these people, you have little or nothing left for development agenda. And that's why I will appeal to those who have made contributions, whether in kind, financial, or otherwise, to please allow the incoming governor to breathe, at least give him time to settle down and to make impact, rather than exerting pressure on him to start paying his political IOU. And because when you call it
should be about the people first.
Yeah, but they will tell you when they were putting down the millions, they didn't talk about it, because this election was bankrolled from many quarters. It's not. Do you think it's the candidate that put all of those resources down? I mean, none of the candidates could have spent less than 1 billion, and that's putting it very mildly. None of them can spend less than 150 days of campaign. Look at even how much you pay party agents. There are 4,519 polling units, and you have one agent. At least from the statistics, PDP has 99% deployment of party agents. APC has 98% deployment of AP. That means almost everywhere is covered. And you have to pay these people. Even if they are party men, you cannot say they are volunteered. You will not give them stipend for cost of transportation and feeding. So, assuming you even give them 10,000 naira each, that is almost 500 million. On payment of party agent. You have not talked about what you spent to campaign across 192 wards and 18 local governments over 150 days, the political adverts, the settlements of different stakeholders, like the youth, the women's, and then the artisans and all of them.
You have to open offices.
You have to open campaign offices and
it's a lot.
And local government coordinators, zonal coordinators. You have to have a campaign council, your own, apart from the party council. You have to buy vehicles.
Operational vehicles.
Yeah, operational vehicles for these coordinators. When you are proceeding on campaign, the officials that will accompany you, you have to buy vehicles that
even
will ferry
security,
them.
what you spend on security, personal and official security, the security you deploy to all your campaign venues, the security at your campaign office, and even in your home, around your family. None of the frontline candidates is riding an ordinary car. It has to be bulletproof vehicle. And that's a lot. But
beyond all of these, Mr. Dazang, all these recommendations on reforms or policies that should be put in place to have for the people to experience good governance cannot be sustained effectively. There's the issue of okay, so this party has won. I'm not working with this person because it's not from my party. What would you advise? Whoever emerges winner and whoever doesn't. In a race like this, there must be a winner and there must be a loser.
Yes, I think we need to also borrow from other jurisdictions. If you set your sights on service, on delivering governance, in spite of these pressures, certainly there will be pressures, even in developed societies. That's what we call job for the boys.
Yeah.
You try to take care of people who aided you during the campaign. But what most people do is that they try, even during the campaign, to co-opt persons who will add value up initial, right from the beginning. There's something they are bringing to the table. So by the time you are rewarding them because of the unique talents that they have.
Yeah.
Unlike in our own case, where you are just like our own settlement in courts. We are not looking at what each person will bring to the table. We are just looking at, okay, this man said he did this, I'm giving him this, let me have my piece. You have to, in addition to within some limits, taking care of these kinds of characters, you need to set your sight on service, on delivering good governance, and then also looking for special purpose vehicles to deliver this governance. And in doing so, you can go across parties. You can look outside your party and look for people who are capable and utilize them to achieve your goals. And
we saw what the federal government did in its cabinet.
Yes, so you can do that. And when you do that, it also reduces the tension that occurs between you and perhaps some of your opponents. This winner takes all that is peculiar to the majoritarian that operate can be mitigated by that kind of action. And the bitterness, that arises from losing election, given the kinds of money that are expended, will also be reduced. And like earlier on here, in other places, they sit back and look at, okay, in the course of the campaign, this was what happened. How do I heal the country? And it happened even during Abraham Lincoln's time. He became president in the aftermath of a bitter civil war. And his several speech, one said, solidarity to all. He was to buy. He proceeded on that trajectory of healing the nations, when Biden came, after the campaign against Trump, he started on that footing. In fact, he celebrated Abraham Lincoln on kind of virtues that he commanded at the time, which is that even though he was a Republican, he reached out others. Even though there were members of the Confederates and the members of the Union during the Civil War, I tried to reach out, to the Confederates, even though their members, one of their members assassinated him in the theater at the end of the day. But at least he made that effort, and he abolished slave trade in his time, slavery in his time. And that also stood out for him as a credit, an enduring credit for his legacy as somebody who did something for black people, people of color. So these are the kinds of people that we need to have transcendental qualities that beyond our own immediate interests. Statesman. You need to be a statesman, elevate yourself beyond politics. Yeah. A statesman looks at the next election. A politician looks at the next election, but a statesman looks at the next generation. What can I do for example, people, so that in the next 20 years, they will their lives will be improved and make the state a better place for other generations to come. How to improve the welfare of the misery. They won't be mired in poverty and misery and disease. All these are concerns that we need to address.
Beyond any party divide, right?
Yes.
Okay, and another challenge, Mr. Ojo, that has always been thrown out there is the issue of underrepresentation of women in the political space. We saw the only female candidate for the People's Redemption Party, Madam Patience Ofori, nobody really talked about her. Okay, I'll get to that issue. I've just been informed that our correspondent, Jude, I don't know if it's Jude, yes, Jude is standing by at the Benin Collation Center just to feed us with what is happening. 55 minutes, it's fast spent. So, and I could see from the clips we saw earlier, the people are still eagerly waiting patiently. Jude, what's the situation? What are you hearing at this time?
It is past 8 o'clock in the evening, and we are still waiting for the government area. Earlier, the collation center went on break. When it returned, one more result from Oredo local government area was presented to the collation officer, to the state collation officer, the vice chancellor of the Federal University of Technology, Mina. While that result was presented by the local government collation officer, we now recorded 17 local government areas that have their results being presented to the collation officers. These results include that of Igwere, Owan East, Owan West, Esan East, Esan Central, Esan West, Esan North, Esan East, Esan West, Esan Central, Orionwo, Bode, and Igor local government areas. They also have results from Ovia Northeast, Ovia Southwest, Akokedo, and Oredo. They have also been presented here. So the state collection announced a recession of about 1 hour, but it has already passed an hour. We are not yet hearing from them to know what is delaying the result from Ikpawaka local government area. But we are almost at the end of this whole exercise because the results that are released have been entered in the state result sheet. So whenever the Ikpawaka local government results is brought in, it will not take a long time for the final declaration to be made. What will just be done is to add up that remaining local government area results, and the total will be collated, and the winner will be made known with the final outcome of the exercise conducted in Edo State yesterday.
Okay, Jude, thank you for that detailed information you just reeled out for us. But I can see from the clips we've been getting there from the Benin Collation Center, the people are patiently waiting, no doubt. But did you feel their pulse? Are they tensed up, or what exactly, you know, is their pulse at the moment?
All right, like I mentioned earlier, we have not been told why it is taking this long to present the result from the Ikpawaka local government area. But the key people taking care of this collation, they are still seated in the hall. I mean, some INEC national commissioners, the resident electoral commissioner just stepped out. But the national INEC commissioner supervising Edo State, Professor Rhoda Gumus, is still here. Some head of security agencies, they are still seated here. Party agents and representatives of civil society organizations, as well as journalists and other observers, they are all sitting in this hall. So nobody is moving an inch. Even the rep that stepped out, it's expected that he will come back. I don't think this worker, that's the only thing keeping everybody here.
All right, Jude, I like the fact that you're optimistic about your speculation. Nobody wants to wait that long. The anxiety is already high, so we're expecting that any moment from now, that local government result will be brought in. But thank you so much. We'll definitely connect with you again as soon as we can, if you have any updates for us. Thank you very much, Jude.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, there you have it, Mr. Ojo and Mr. Dazang.
But it's in all national interest. We hope our vigilance, our effort will not be in vain.
Yeah.
And that this whole exercise, when we look at it with benefit of hindsight, we will commend the electoral management body. It tells you the story about the challenge of conducting elections.
Yeah.
Ikpawaka is like in Edo State. It's city center. It's part of Benin
It's the
City.
largest, actually.
No,
in terms of the registered voters.
I understand. It has the highest number of registered voters, but I'm only letting our viewers know that this is not a riverine. This is not a river. This is not a hard-to-reach environment. It's just that the share size is very large. But it also speaks to the meticulous nature of conducting elections. Election is a methodical exercise. And interestingly, this is just 18 local government. Imagine Osun State or Oyo State with 33 or 30 local government. Anyway, it's not the first time we've seen even a coalition taking over about 2 days because of certain logistical challenge. But today, not today, as they say in local parlance, whatever it will take, we will see the end of this. And I just hope a winner will emerge on the first ballot.
After all the wait.
After all the wait. Because the most disappointing thing will be, after this long thing, the election is not declaring conclusive. That would be very...
Do you perceive that?
Anything can happen. I've not done an independent collation, so I wouldn't know. I'm not sure Mr. Dazang has also done so. Because the truth is that the law have to take its course. if you lead and you don't have the minimum benchmark to be declared a winner will not emerge.
Yeah.
So it's just that, and whatever we are waiting for is already known to the political class, because they've done their own tabulation in their situation room, and they already know what they score in Ikwabaka. Just that they need an official
presentation
announcement to be made, because that's what the law envisages.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, Ruth. It could be very interesting. The law, what they call law, there is a world of difference between timelines. Timelines can make a world of difference. Let me give you an instance of what happened in Kogi in the election where Prince Abubakar Abdu died. If that election had been concluded on the first ballot, if that election was not declared inconclusive, Yahya Bello would not have been governor. It should have been James Faleke. You know why? If INEC had declared the election conclusive on the first ballot, Prince Abubakar Abdu would have been governor-elect. James Faleke would have been deputy governor-elect. And if Abubakar Abdu died the way he died, but the election has been announced as concluded, even without inauguration, at the death of Prince Abubakar Abdu, it will have been James Faleke that will have been sworn in. Because see what happened in 1999 in Adamawa. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was governor-elect. Boni Haruna was deputy governor-elect. They were yet to be inaugurated when former President Olusegun Obasanjo picked Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as his running mate, and he stepped up to be the running mate. By the time of inauguration, Boni Haruna was the one that was inaugurated as governor-elect, not deputy governor-elect. So timeline is very, very important in elections. And what happens per time can alter destinies.
Yes.
Because I mean, we were all alive in, was it not 2015 when the issue of Abubakar Abdu happened? It was in 2015. So I hope this election will be concluded on the first ballot, and that will be that November 11 we will be waiting for the new governor to be inaugurated. However, if the election is declared inconclusive for whatever reasons, it then means that we are not done yet. And there will be supplementary election in wherever the election has been cancelled, either due to violence or overvoting or whatever. But that's why we have to wait out to hear the final word today. What exactly will be the outcome? I'm not in a position to say one way or the other. In fact, the most probable thing from what we are seeing, having seen 17 results, is that this election will be concluded on the first ballot. That's the most likely scenario. But you see,
except in areas where there have been irregularities.
That will come in because of competitiveness. Because where
we're already feeling the body language of party agents.
Yes. Because you see, Ruth, the margin of lead will now come in if the number of cancelled votes could have made a difference between the person who has the highest number of votes and the first runner up. That's when INEC will now say, this margin is too close. If we consider the number of council votes, it means that if we give opportunity for those people whose votes have been cancelled, it could alter the outcome one way or the other. And that's why I gave you the example of Yahya Bello, James Walike, and Prince Abubakar Audu. That, what is declared as can alter destinies of human beings.
We saw what happened to Chief Osumbo.
Osumbo.
Yes, yeah. So anything can happen.
Anything.
Mr. Dazang, do you share some perspective with what Mr. Ojo has just shared?
Well,
based on timelines and the period of waiting, which could either,
there is this concern about time and space dimension. That everything has a time and space dimension, and I think that is what he's trying to talk to. But I would rather not want to talk in such terms.
Because you're a practical man.
Well, I don't want to wax metaphysical or spiritual.
Okay.
I just want to stay on the process, and perhaps to look at just whether a winner will emerge on the first ballot or not, and if no one meets the requirements.
But looking at the scenario that has played out,
yes,
that's what we're talking now. Do you envisage that a winner will emerge at the first ballot?
I think a winner will emerge on the first ballot, given the fact that the two major gladiators did well across the board. I think from the figures we have shown, from the accredited number of voters, and then the scores they each got, except maybe in Akoko Edo, where the margin was very wide, 34,000 plus versus 15,000 plus. The margin between the two
was too much.
It was only much in Akoko Edo, but in other local governments it wasn't that wide. And
some local governments, it was almost a tie.
Yes, they're on neck and neck.
12,000, 11,000.
So what I'm trying to say is that across board, whoever wins is likely to get the spread, the 2/3, 25% in 2/3 of the 18 local governments. And then only the person needs is a simple majority. Even if it is 10 votes, the person would have carried the day. So I'm positive, I'm optimistic that the winner will emerge on the first ballot. My fear had been if it was a 3-horse race, and then the votes were split, against the 3 candidates. But it is not so.
It started like a 3-horse race.
That's what we thought. But the reality of these results have not validated that proposition. So what it means is that all of them have done well across board, so they are likely going to satisfy the requirement for 25%, but the winner will emerge more, therefore, on the total number of votes cast. That is the majority votes scored by the winner. So that's what I'm looking at.
Okay, Mr. Ojo, a pleasant time for politicians who are on the ballot right now. Who are the 2 contenders or people who have shown the capacity that, yes, they will make it, who are having hope, but not a pleasant time for women. I started that conversation before we connected to our correspondent. Every time there's election, you hear the conversation and the advocacy, the voices are amplified on why women are always underrepresented. Madam Key Ofure Patience, was the only candidate, or rather is the only candidate in the election, PRP, People's Redemption Party, which is quite unfortunate because we get to see women, more go out to cast their ballot to support this candidate. But where that gap of having women represented in the political space has been a long issue to be debated on.
Well, I think,
and I know that you for sure, you're a he for she.
I am.
Okay.
Unapologetically.
Okay, yeah.
A he for she. But we should know that, again, it's a marathon. It's not an 100-meter dash. Look at America. America got independence from Britain in 1776. America is here to produce a female president.
But who would have thought Kamala would be in the race now?
No, wait. I'm just giving you historical.
Yeah, I know. I'm just helping you.
Kamala stands a very good chance. But I think our political class has not entrusted so much trust and confidence in female candidates. None of the dominant parties have deemed it fit to put forward a formidable woman. That's why we have not had a female governor, female elected governor, except acting governor. The one when Peter Obi was impeached, Dempe Etiaba. Did you know in the August 2022 elections held in Kenya, the Kenyan has moved from producing 3 governors, state governors, to 6. They were able to double it in 5 years. Female governors, which Nigeria is still chasing to have first female elected governor. And it's not like it cannot happen. It can happen when because I think we should just not just celebrate a patient euphoria because a PRP decided to just do something out of ordinary. We've seen this time and again. This party that really are not very, that do not have much of structure on ground, will just, quote and unquote, dash a female a ticket. They know that the value of that ticket is useless. In the last election in Ondo State, I am the only female candidate nearly had an altercation on Good Morning Nigeria when I was making my very frank view. The woman felt she stood a very good chance to win. And I said, ma, what is at hand does not support your chances. You don't even, you are not even in the race. And she was, Erelu Bam Bam, if I come to Ekiti, I will hear how people, and I concede that you should have confidence. But the reality that speaks to you is that unless our dominant political class are willing to stake their resources and reputation to project a female candidate, it may take far longer period for us to produce a female governor. For instance, we've had series of female senators. We have had two terms, 3 terms female senator. Look at Senator Olujimi from Ekiti State, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, Senator Nkechi from Abia. I think Nkechi Nwaogu, she was there for 2 terms, and a couple of senators from Anambra also did like 2 terms and all of that. But none of the dominant parties have deemed it fit to say, we want to put our money where our mouth is. We are encouraging a formidable woman to be our gubernatorial candidate. If we leave it to this, I don't want to use the word French parties, even if there are 16 of them that are female candidates, what we are seeing is just like they just make the numbers. As I said on this platform yesterday night, there are two categories of there are two categories of contestants in the political field. There are the pretenders and there are the contenders. And you could see that in this election that is almost being concluded, there are 18 candidates. But if you put together all the results from Labour Party down, it's like what you say, you know, when these kit makers will say, INEC should stop announcing and wasting people's time by announcing those other candidates. They should just go and check their results that announce the result of the dominant parties. Because, okay, so, I don't know whether you follow the announcement. A party in which you are contesting zero votes, 1 vote, you know, and that will take time for you to go through the motion and walk through. So,
but you know, Mr. Ojo, is very unfortunate.
I'm not saying it's fortunate.
Yeah.
I'm actually not saying it's fortunate. But if you get my line of thought,
yeah,
I'm saying our dominant party should make it happen for women. If they can push, for instance, as the Edo agenda produce an Esama, an Ishama as the next governor, if they have said we want to break record and produce the first female governor in Nigeria, do you think there are no serious-minded, powerful, witty women in Edo that, in addition to just saying we want our next governor to be from Edo Central, we also want them to be women. Just leave it to PDP and APC producing a female candidate. One of them will turn out to be
but you know,
the next governor.
I was privileged to be in a conversation where, in a forum rather, where a lot of women who are politicians, you know, were amplifying their voices on the effective role they can have on the political space and the challenges that is, or rather the factors that is affecting their underrepresentation. Majority in that forum were for the whole option of, oh, don't even subsidize the price of farm for us. Give me the same capacity you're going to give a man. Let me show my capacity that I can stand. So it's not even about, so the political parties now, are they even ready, you know, to make it, they don't, the women are weak. They don't even want a soft landing. They want to show that they can. But opportunity is where the gap is.
No. I beg to disagree about whether the opportunities are there, but the financial muscle is not there for a woman. I mean, we are trying to do some little arithmetic of what it will have cost either of the two dominant party to run the kind of campaign they did, that none of the two could have spent less than 1 billion. And that's putting it mildly. Now tell me which female candidate has that kind of war chest.
You talked about backbone supporters for the men.
Yes, but you know, you can, that's where the role of party comes in. If a party believes in you and decides that, just like there is a kind of affirmative, because what has happened in Edo is an affirmative action, that for purposes of equity, justice, and fairness, let's have an Ishama being the next governor. You get? I'm saying, assuming that they went a step further, and said, yes, the next governor should be Ishama for these two parties, but should also be a woman. We would have been celebrating a glass ceiling being broken today, because truth be told, people will be willing to vote. Aisha Benani nearly did it in Adamawa.
Yes.
Mama Taraba nearly did it 4 years ago in Taraba, isn't it? So, who says a woman cannot be a governor? If you have the necessary muscle wherewithal, it could have happened. in Adamawa or in Taraba, in those two instances I've given. But when our party are still the gatekeepers and the chieftains of the parties are still believing in primordial sentiments of, oh, how can we support a woman to be our governor? If he goes to see anemia, how will anemia be prostrating for a woman? You know, those kind of sentiments, or what is of religious persuasion, or what is the marital status of that woman. All those considerations that we don't have for a man, we start bringing those considerations in the case of a woman. And that's what has held us back. I believe nobody is stopping a woman from contesting, but the circumstantial prevailing variables is what is stopping a woman. For instance, even if a party will put their structure behind you, if you are going to spend 1 billion, at least you must have at least 200 million out of that money. I don't know whether you get my drift. You cannot expect 100% gratis.
But are the men willing to support terms of that?
They will be willing.
Mr. Ojo, you are the one
Listen,
saying this.
I'm saying this. they will be willing if there is a conscious effort on the part of the dominant party to support a woman. And I'm saying this intentionally. If a dominant party throws its weight, for instance, and quote me on this, if President Tinubu decides that in these 4 years, I want to break that jinx, I want to produce the first female governor for Nigeria, it will happen. You know why? It will support that person not only financially, but with state resources. When Asiwaju wanted to make his wife a senator, you think there was a space? You think there was nobody in that space before? Asiwaju says, it's my wife's turn. And he threw his weight behind his wife, and the wife ended up being a 3-term senator of the Federal Republic. That same weight, if there is a conscious effort and the president says, I want to make a name for myself, I want to be that president that will produce the first female governor, and look for, it's a daunting. You know, in my sector, in the development sector, there's something called a daunting. Sometimes you shop for somebody you know as the pedigree, who has the requisite skill, knowledge, capacity, and maybe good financial muscle. Look at our banks now. At least
the women are taking
over the banking sector. Yeah. And these are multi-billion naira businesses where people put their life savings. About 5 different banks are now being headed by women. What's more, what they control, what those women control, is more than state resources. How much is the money, the budget of a state, like a kit? But you have a woman who is the CEO of a Zenith Bank, CEO of a UBA, CEO of an Access Bank. So, Fidelity, or let's look at the academia. Look at the number of female vice chancellors that have been produced. My alma mater, University of Lagos, is now having a female.
Mr. Ojo, I love your passion. You know, that's why I told you he's a he for she. Now you could see why I said he's. I don't know if Mr. Dazang is a he for she, but we want to cross over to the Collation Center. We're getting reports that they're getting settled, so the wait may be over. Okay, fantastic. Let's just cross over. They've resumed.
Of Architecture from Federal University of Technology, Mina. I am the local government area collation officer of Okobaba, Oko. The local government has 10 wards, and the summary of the result is as follows. Number of registered voters 782 392 782. Number of accredited voters 61437. 61437. Then the distribution according to the parties that participated in the election. Party A, 88. Party A, 88. Party AA, 90. Party AA, 90. Party AAC, 56. Party AAC, 56. Party ADC, 244. Party ADC, 244. Party ADP, 149. Party ADP, 149. APC, 16338. APC, 16338. Party APGA, 1216. Party APGA, 216. Party APM, 31. Party APM, 31. Party APP, 61. Party APP, 61. Party BP, 64. Party BP, 64. Party LP, 4026. 4026. Party NNPP, 368. Party NNPP, 368. Party NRM, 108. Party NRM, 108. Party PDP, 26382. Party PDP, 26382. Party PRP, 307. Party PRP, 307. Party SDP, 127. Party SDP, 127. Party YPP, 79. Party YPP, 79. Party ZLP, 50. Party ZLP, 50. Total valid votes, 48784. 48784. Rejected votes, 1455. Rejected votes, 1455. Total votes cast, 50239. 50239. Thank you.
LG, sir. Was there a ward where elections were not held or cancelled? And if there are, what are the reasons for the cancellation or elections not being held around that place? Thank you.
Yes, sir. One ward, Ward 2, Orebeni, was cancelled and all the parties were scored 0. Reason?
Okay, that was Ikpo Gbaoka being read. The results just presented there. APC 16,338, PDP 26,382, and for Labour Party 4,026. Mr. Ojo, were you surprised with the numbers?
Well, it follows the trajectory of general low voter turnout. And I just say we may end up not having up to 20%.
Okay, Mr. Ojo, maybe you just hold that thought. Let's get what this party agent is saying.
By the time we get this metro copies of the proper accreditation from the papers, we will know the steps we are going to take for that. So this is not the place to talk about the papers now. Thank you. Thank you very much. I just like to put this one out. Just to know that we are standing for our local government. It is the home of life where we are speaking from now. And if you recall, this exercise started at 10 a.m. this morning, and then we went on break at 3. Because our returning officer told us that the remaining 2 local governments, they have to finish education. To check the time now, it's almost 9 p.m. To collate the result for the Kubaba, here we are sitting. Today last one I was declared as 17. This 100 meters away. These results have been retired since yesterday. They call these results in. It's on the board. Yes. I wish I had a microphone. It's good that the whole world knows. The whole world knows. So please, I do not know how we are everybody here to suffer all the when these things will not be read. On the final note, I will just beg that I have common follows. And standing on Article 62, sir, of the Annual Rules and Regulations 2022, I'd like to demand for suspension of declaration of the local governorship election result pending determination and resolution of party of litigation. I don't have a right. I wish to demand for the suspension of the declaration of the local governorship election result pending determination and resolution of the party of litigation. These overall and correlated results, they definitely have that because of numbers. So they can play with the numbers. We wish to write the request for the suspension of the ongoing collation and declaration of September 21st, 2024 local election in the country. Following the regulations that the margin of the final results related are far below the total number of votes collected in the where elections will not hold or were cancelled. The Constitution of INEC regulation and guidelines for the conduct of elections provides for the margin of leave requirement to be satisfied as a precondition for the final declaration of the result. Evidently, the elections of the council of the not hold a total of 462 votes across 15 areas. The second last hereby given. Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm not going to. Hereby demand for a suspension of final declaration and the decision of the Commission for appropriate review of results and the run accordingly. Thank you very much. For the case of numbers, so that the threshold will not be met. That is why these results were validated left and right. Thank you very much. Not the other to collate. I've made by the man. Thank you very much. I will submit it about our nation. Thank you. Thank you. Accepted. Thank you very much.
All right, there you have it, but not yet uhuru for the winner, not yet concluded. Of course, the final collation, it's ongoing there at the Benin Collation Center. There, we just had the numbers reeled out for Ikpo Ogbaoka. PDP leading with 26,382 and APC 16,338, followed by the Labour Party 4,026. We really want to thank our guests who have been great company. Mr. Nick Dazang, thank you so much for your company, for your time, your contribution. I want to believe you monitor the process from your end. We have to let you go. Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure and privilege. Thank you.
It's been an interesting time with you. Mr. Jide Ojo, thank you so much. We can't thank you enough. Thank you for your contribution on the program. I'm sure you keep tab with what's happening there.
Definitely.
When the final result is announced.
Let's hope for the best.
Indeed.
Thank you.
We'll cross over to the Benin Collation Center and whichever comes up next. Of course, don't forget, Newsline is just around the corner. We're going to start the Newsline when we're able to, but I'm sure not too long, but we'll stay with the Benin Collation Center because we want to see the end of this. And it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Thank you so much. I'm Ruth Aguele.